Scrooge had often heard it said that Marley had no bowels, but he had never believed it until now. No, nor did he believe it even now, though he looked the phantom through and through, and saw it standing before him, though he felt the chilling influence of its death-cold eyes, and marked the very texture of the folded kerchief about its head and chin, which wrapper he had not observed before. He was still incredulous and fought against his senses.
"How now?"
said Scrooge, caustic and cold as ever.
"What do you want with me?"
"Much."
Marley's voice, no doubt about it.
"Who are you?"
"Ask me who I was."
"Who were you then?"
said Scrooge, raising his voice.
"You're particular for a shade."
He was going to say, to a shade, but substituted this as more appropriate.
"In life I was your partner, Jacob Marley."
Can you sit down?"
asked Scrooge, looking doubtfully at him.
"I can."
"Do it then."
Scrooge asked the question because he did not know whether a ghost so transparent might find himself in a condition to take a chair. But the ghost sat down on the opposite side of the fireplace, as if he were quite used to it.
"You don't believe in me,"
observed the ghost.
"I don't."
"What evidence would you have of my reality beyond that of your senses?"
"I don't know."
"Why do you doubt your senses?"
"Because no little thing affects them. A slight disorder of the stomach makes them cheats. You may be an undigested bit of beef, a blot of mustard, a crumb of cheese, a fragment of an underdone potato. Yes, there's more of gravy than a grave about you, whatever you are. Humbug, I tell you, humbug!"
At this the spirit raised a frightful cry, and shook its chains with such a dismal and appalling noise that Scrooge held on tight to his chair to save himself from falling in a swoon. But how much greater was his horror when the phantom, taking off the bandage round its head, as if it were too warm to wear indoors, its lower jaw dropped down upon its breast. Scrooge fell upon his knees and clasped his hands before his face.
"Mercy! Dreadful apparition, why do you trouble me?"
"Man of the worldly mind, do you believe in me or not?"
"I do! I must! But why do spirits walk the earth, and why do they come to me?"
"It is required of every man that the spirit within him should walk abroad among his fellow men, and travel far and wide, and if that spirit goes not forth in life, it is condemned to do so after death. It is doomed to wander through the world, oh, woe is me, and witness what it cannot share, but might have shared on the earth, and turn to happiness."
Again the spectre raised a cry and shook its chains and wrung its shadowy hands.
"You're fettered,"
said Scrooge, trembling.
"Tell me why."
"I wear the chain I forged in life,"
replied the ghost.
"I made it link by link and yard by yard. I girded it on of my own free will, and of my own free will I wore it. Is its pattern strange to you?"
Scrooge trembled more and more.
"Or would you know the weight and length of the strong coil you bear yourself? It was full as heavy and as long as this 7 Christmas Eves ago. You have labored upon it since. It is a ponderous chain."
Scrooge glanced about him on the floor, in the expectation of finding himself surrounded by some 50 or 60 fathoms of iron cable. But he could see nothing.
"Jacob! Oh, Jacob Marley, tell me more. Speak comfort to me, Jacob."
"I have none to give. It comes from other regions, Ebenezer Scrooge, and it's conveyed by other ministers to other kinds of men. Nor can I tell you what I would. A very little more is all permitted to me. I cannot rest. I cannot stay. I cannot linger anywhere. My spirit never walked beyond our counting house. Mock me. In life, my spirit never roved beyond the narrow limits of our money-changing home, and weary journeys lie before me.
It was a habit with Scrooge, whenever he became thoughtful, to put his hands in his breeches pockets. Pondering on what the ghost had said, he did so now, but without lifting up his eyes or getting off his knees.
You must be very slow about it, Jacob,
Scrooge observed in a businesslike manner, though with humility and deference.
Slow?
7 years dead, and traveling all the time.
The whole time. No rest, no peace, incessant torture of remorse.
You traveled fast?
On the wings of the wind.
You might have got over a great quantity of ground in 7 years.
The ghost, on hearing this, set up another cry, and clanked its chain so hideously in the dead silence of the night that the ward would have been justified in indicating it for a nuisance.
But you were always a good man of business, Jacob,
faltered Scrooge, who now began to apply this to himself.
Business! Mankind was my business. The common welfare was my business. Charity, mercy, forbearance, and benevolence were all my business. The dealings of my trade were but a drop of water in the comprehensive ocean of my business.
It held up its chain at arm's length, as if that were the cause of all its unavailing grief, and flung it heavily upon the ground again.
At this time of the rolling year, I suffer most. Why did I walk through crowds of fellow beings with my eyes turned down, and never raise them to that blessed star which led the wise men to a poor abode? Were there no poor homes to which its light would have conducted me?
Scrooge was very much dismayed to hear the spectre going on at this rate, and began to quake exceedingly.
Hear me! My time is nearly gone.
I will, but don't be hard on me. Don't be flowery, Jacob. Pray.
How it is that I appear before you in a shape that you can see, I may not tell. I have sat invisible beside you many and many a day.
It was not an agreeable idea. Scrooge shivered and wiped the perspiration from his brow.
That is no light part of my penance. I am here tonight to warn you that you have yet a chance and hope of escaping my fate. A chance and hope of procuring Ebenezer.
You were always a good friend to me. Thank you.
You will be haunted by 3 spirits.
Scrooge's countenance fell almost as low as the ghost's had done.
Is that the chance and hope you mentioned, Jacob?
It is.
I think I'd rather not.
Without their visits, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Expect the first tomorrow, when the bell tolls 1.
Couldn't I take them all at once and have it over with, Jacob?
Expect the second, on the next night at the same hour. The third upon the next night, when the last stroke of 12 has ceased to vibrate. Look to see me no more, and look that, for your own sake, you remember what has passed between us.
When it had said these words, the spectre took its wrapper from the table and bound it round its head as before. Scrooge knew this by the smart sound its teeth made when its jaws were brought together by the bandage. He ventured to raise his eyes again, and found his supernatural visitor confronting him in an erect attitude with its chain wound over about its arm. The apparition walked backward from him, and at every step it took, the window raised itself a little, so that when the spectre reached it, it was wide open. It beckoned Scrooge to approach, which he did. When they were within 2 paces of each other, Marley's ghost held up its hand. Warning him to come no further, Scrooge stopped. Not so much in obedience, as in surprise and fear for the one raising of the hand. He became sensible of confused noises in the air, incoherent sounds of lamentation and regret, wailings inexpressibly sorrowful and self-accusatory. The spectre, after listening for a moment, joined in the mournful dirge and floated out upon the bleak, dark night.